I slid into the driver's seat, the door thudding shut behind me like the closing of a lid. The rain was soft against the roof, a steady, rhythmic whisper that seemed to muffle the entire world outside. It was a gray, forgettable evening, the kind where you just want to get home and shut the day out. Keys, cold in my hand. I reached for my belt, a reflexive motion I've made thousands of times. And then I stopped. My hand froze midair. The passenger seat belt was already fastened, pulled tight and clean across the empty seat, clicked securely in place, as if someone had just been sitting there, composed and quiet, and then simply stepped out a moment before I arrived. But that was impossible. The car had been parked all day, right here, in my own driveway, locked. No one else has keys. No one. A chill, completely unrelated to the damp evening air, pricked at the back of my neck. I shook my head, trying to dismiss it, and shut my door again, this time harder than I meant to. The sound sealed the quiet inside, making the small space feel suddenly suffocating. The air felt still, too still. A faint smell drifted across something I couldn't quite place. Leather, maybe, or the scent of damp earth after a long rain. It was subtle, but it was there, and it wasn't the usual scent of my car. I turned the key. The engine woke with a low, familiar hum, a comforting sound in the unsettling silence. The headlights cut a bright path into the dark, wet street. Wipers swept once, twice, smearing the collected rainwater across the glass, blurring the world outside for a moment. And then, against my will, my eyes drifted back to the passenger side. The belt was still there, a dark strap pulled straight and taut across the empty seat, latched secure, a silent declaration. I never leave it like that. Never. It's a habit, almost an obsession. I unbuckle everything when I park. My own belt, the passengers, if someone was with me. It's part of the shutdown routine. My fingers, almost moving of their own accord, brushed the red release button on the buckle. It was warm, not hot, not even close. Just warmer than it should be. Warmer than the cold plastic and metal around it. I told myself it was nothing. Residual heat from the sun, but the day had been cold. Overcast and gray from dawn till dusk. There hadn't been any sun to speak of. I tried to reason it away. Maybe I'd fastened it myself this morning, out of some weird absent-minded habit, and simply forgot. But I hadn't. I knew I hadn't. Slowly, hesitantly, I unclipped it. Click. The sound was sharp, almost violent in the quiet car. The belt retracted, sliding back into its slot with a soft, smooth hiss. A sound like an exhale, like it didn't want to let go. The seat looked empty. Of course, it was empty. What was I expecting? But as my eye scanned the fabric, I saw it. The cushion held a shallow indent. Faint, but there, just enough to notice if you were looking for it. Like weight had rested there. Recently, I stared at it for a long moment, the hum of the engine, a low drone in my ears. Then I looked away, forcing my attention back to the road. Focus on driving. Focus on getting home. Silence filled the car again. A different kind of silence now. Not peaceful, but watchful. Only the engine and the rain. Thump, thump of the wipers. Steady, relentless, like breathing. I reached up to adjust the rear view mirror. Just a tiny nudge to get a better view of the road behind me. And for a split second, in the very corner of my eye, a shadow shifted in the passenger seat. I blinked, my heart lurching into my throat. Nothing. It was just the reflection of passing streetlights, distorting shapes in the periphery. Just a trick of the light and my own frayed nerves. The highway was nearly empty, a long, dark ribbon of wet asphalt. Streetlights blurred past, painting fleeting streaks of orange across the dashboard. I kept my hands steady on the wheel, my knuckles white. But the air on that side of the car felt different. Palpably different, cooler, heavier, like a pocket of cold had settled there, refusing to mix with the rest of the air in the cabin. Then I saw it. A faint fog appeared on the passenger window, small, oval, exactly the size and shape of a human breath against cold glass. I stared at it, the wipers beating their steady rhythm. Thump, thump. I couldn't stand it. I reached over and wiped the condensation away with the sleeve of my jacket. It smeared for a second, then vanished. As I pulled my arm back, My sleeve brushed the headrest, and for an instant it felt firm beneath the fabric. Not hollow, not just foam and cloth. It felt like something solid was there, resisting the light pressure. I snatched my hand back as if I'd touched a hot stove. I kept driving, kept my eyes locked on the road ahead. Then I heard it, a tiny click from the dashboard. The glove compartment latch. It gave a single, soft click, as if it had been gently pressed from the inside. It didn't spring open, it just shifted. The sound was so small I might have imagined it, but I knew I hadn't. I didn't look. I refused to look. I stared straight ahead. My focus narrowed to the twin beams of my headlights cutting through the night. Miles passed in a tense, ringing silence. My thoughts just circled, round and round, chasing the same impossible questions. Who could have been here? No one. The doors were locked, windows up. No sign of a forced entry. It made no sense. As I slowed for a red light, my gaze fell to the floor, near the seatbelt slot. A single long, dark hair was caught in the mechanism, right where the belt fed back into the pillar. It wasn't mine. Mine is short and light brown. This was black and long. I told myself it was old. It must have been there for months, from a friend I'd driven ages ago. Forgotten, overlooked, but I knew it wasn't. I cleaned my car. I would have noticed. The light turned green. As I accelerated, the seatbelt, hanging loose now, began to sway gently with the motion of the car. Back and forth, back and forth. A lazy, hypnotic rhythm. As if someone were sitting there, shifting their weight, getting comfortable for the ride. I didn't turn my head. I didn't want to see if the indent in the seat had deepened. A new smell started to creep into the air. Faint but distinct, metallic, like old coins, or blood. Finally, mercifully, I pulled into my driveway. The journey had felt like an eternity. I turned off the engine. Silence rushed in, absolute and immediate. Heavy, complete. I just sat there, keys still clutched in my hand. My eyes were glued to the passenger seat. It was empty. Perfectly empty. The cushion was smooth again. No indent. The long dark hair was gone. No fog on the glass. The belt hung loose. Perfectly motionless. Everything exactly as it should be. As if the last 10 minutes had been a hallucination. My fingers rested on the door handle, ready to escape. But I didn't open it. Not yet. Because in that heavy, suffocating quiet, one last question settled over me, as soft and chilling as a breath I couldn't see. What if whatever fastened that seatbelt never actually left the car? What if it's still here, sitting patiently beside me, just waiting for the next time I start the engine?